Okay, so we've used sighting of comparative measurements and of angles to draw this isolated object, just this cube, this one cube. And we've got a much more complex setup here. We've got a whole still life. And so now I need to draw not the other cubes as individual items, not individual objects, but I've got to draw the relationships between these things. I'm seeing this cube in its entirety, and I knew approximately where I wanted it on the page, and so I think that's an okay starting point. But from here on out, I'm not going to be drawing each cube individually. I'm going to be drawing relationships between all of the things I'm looking at. I'm going to use my comparative measurements. Got a lot of information here now that I can start with. I'm going to use my angles, but I'm also going to use the third sighting method, which is to use comparative verticals and horizontals. We can think of this as a plumb line situation. If you're familiar with a plumb line, this device can show us how one vertical might compare to another vertical and show us those kinds of relationships. And I'm going to use that right off the bat to look at the bigger cube form, which is behind this first cube. And so there's a line, a vertical line, which breaks this line right about here. And so it goes right in about there. 2 bits of information I have now to compare. Where does it break this line? I've got it closer to this side than that side, but just a little bit past the middle, off to the right. And as I'm looking at it here, oh, it needs to go further to the right. It needs to go a little bit more over here. And if I drop a vertical with my pencil, with the plumb line concept, then I'll see it should come right about here on this front line. And so that is the approximate positioning for that line. Okay, right about there. Now I'm going to come over here and start drawing the bottom angle of that. Where does that line interrupt? This line I've already got established. The front line of that base of that box interrupts just below the half point, right about here. Just below the half point. And what is the angle of it? It is like this. Yeah, right about like that. Sketch that in. Then there's a little box just down here. And I'm going to start with the point here. Where is that point? Well, it doesn't exactly connect with anything. But I can look at where that point is as an intangible in relationship to this point. What is the angle? What is the measurement? About like that. What is the measurement? I can measure how close it is to this. It looks like it's about here. And then that's a vertical line as well. And then what is the top of that box? It is just about horizontal. I might go to my 2 pencils and, oh my gosh, it almost is horizontal, so I can keep that about horizontal. Then there's the bottom point of this cube. Where is that in relationship to this point? It's hard to see. It's a pretty steep angle. It's about like this. About like that. And then there's a point to the front of the box down here. Where is that? How low is that compared to this? What is the angle from here to here? It's about like this. I'm going to use my framing device here and close that off because I'm starting to see something from our previous exercise which is very helpful. What I'm seeing is the development of a negative shape. Look at this negative shape. You see this negative shape? I always like to give it an eye, a nose, and a mouth. And it's a little head. It's got a long neck and then it comes down like this. That little shape is helping me to draw the cubes around it. Okay, so I'm going to continue with these concepts, with these measurements, with these sighting techniques, and see if I can block in some of the rest of this still life. We'll go to some quick drawing here to get that done.